All right, let's talk about one of the great American mysteries, a real classic from our folklore, the bizarre disappearance of a guy named Ichabod Crane.
But here's the thing, this is way more than just some spooky ghost story. We're going to peel back all those layers of superstition, right? And what we're going to find underneath is this really clever, satirical mystery that's just waiting to be solved.
Okay, so first things first, you gotta understand the setting. Sleepy Hollow, it's not just a place on a map, it's really a character in its own right. We're talking about a super tight-knit community, totally soaked in folklore and old stories, and they are not fans of all the progress happening in the big wide world outside.
And then, into this old-school town walks our guy, Ichabod Crane. He is the ultimate outsider, right? He's this so-called agent of progress from Connecticut, and let me tell you, his ambition is off the charts. The only things bigger are his greed and the fact that he'll believe pretty much anything. He looks at this town and doesn't see a home, he sees a prize to be won.
You know how every town has its own boogeyman? Well, Sleepy Hollow's is a doozy. The Headless Horseman. The story goes, he's the ghost of a Hessian soldier from the Revolutionary War who, well, lost his head to a cannonball. This legend just looms over the whole valley, and it sets the perfect spooky stage for what's coming next.
So, the stage is set, right? Let's dive into that one fateful night, the last time anyone ever saw Ichabod Crane. It's a sequence of events that just builds and builds with pure terror.
Okay, so it all kicks off at this big harvest party. Everyone's having a good time, but then the ghost stories start up, especially about the horsemen. And this really gets into Ichabod's superstitious head. So later, he's riding home all by himself in the pitch black, and guess who shows up? The Phantom itself. They have this terrifying chase that ends at a bridge, and that's when the horseman throws its severed head right at him, knocking him clean off his horse. And after that, nothing. He's just gone.
So what on earth happened to him? Well, his disappearing act basically split the town right down the middle. Two totally different stories pop up to explain what went down that night.
And this is where the real mystery kicks in. You've got two options. On one side, there's the supernatural story that all the villagers jumped on. The Headless Horseman got him, which means the legend must be real. But then, on the other side, you've got the logical take. Maybe Ichabod's rival, the local hero Brom Bones, just pulled off the world's most epic prank to get rid of the new guy for good.
But here's the cool part. The story doesn't actually leave us hanging. The author, Washington Irving, he's clever. He leaves this trail of breadcrumbs for us to follow. And if you follow it, you realize, wait a minute, this isn't a ghost story, it's a trick, a grand illusion.
What's so brilliant about this is how Irving is basically playing a game with us. It's like he's a magician on a stage. He's waving this amazing ghost story in our faces to distract us, while the real answer is hidden right there, in plain sight the whole time.
And here it is, the big reveal. The key to the whole trick comes down to one single clue. The next morning, what do the villagers find? Ichabod's hat, lying right next to a smashed pumpkin. That's right, the terrifying severed head that was thrown at him, it was just a pumpkin. This is the smoking gun, people.
And once you know about the pumpkin, everything just clicks into place, doesn't it? Suddenly, we've got a prime suspect. Brom Bones, the notorious prankster. We've got a clear motive. Get this greedy outsider away from his town and his girl. And we pretty much have a confession, because the guy would burst out laughing any time someone even mentioned the pumpkin. Case closed on the ghost theory, I'd say.
So why all the misdirection? Why not just tell us what happened? Well, because Irving wasn't just telling a story. He was playing a game with us, his readers. He was testing us. Can you see past the spooky, fun story to figure out what's really going on? He does this by making the narrator totally unreliable. It's on purpose. He's trying to teach us a lesson here. A lesson about thinking for ourselves, about being critical. He doesn't want us to just blindly believe like the villagers did, or like poor, gullible Ichabod.
And he gives us 3 giant red flags to show us the story's shaky. First, what we're reading is basically third-hand gossip. It's not an eyewitness account. Second, it was all written down 30 years after it happened. I mean, think about how much a story can change in 30 years. That's how a prank becomes a legend. And finally, the narrator basically gives us a huge wink at the end.
I mean, he literally says, I don't believe one half of it myself. He's telling us flat out not to trust what he just told us. That's not just some random line. That is a direct challenge. Irving is looking right at you, the reader, and asking,
So, are you going to fall for my little magic trick? Or are you smart enough to figure it out?
But wait, we're not done. The story doesn't just end there with Ichabod vanishing. Oh no. The final twist, this is where Irving really twists the knife with some serious, biting social commentary.
So it turns out Ichabod wasn't kidnapped by a ghost, he just got totally embarrassed and ran away. He packed up, skipped town, and years later word gets back that he's not only alive and well, but he's actually built this super successful new life for himself somewhere else.
And I mean, he didn't just get by, he thrived. The guy becomes a lawyer, then he gets into politics, and eventually he becomes a judge in a court. And this right here, this is Irving's final, sharp jab at what he saw as the modern world.
And that's the absolute biggest irony of the whole story. All of the things that made him a total failure in a place like Sleepy Hollow, a place that cared about tradition and character, those were the exact things that made him a massive success out in the real world. His greed, his arrogance, his gullibility, turns out those were the perfect qualifications for a career in law and politics. Ouch.
And that's the real question Irving leaves us chewing on, isn't it? It's a mystery that's way deeper and frankly way more unsettling than any ghost with a missing head. What does it say about our society when the guy who is too gullible to spot a prank goes on to become a judge, deciding the fate of others? Now that is the truly scary story here.